I'm just one of those girls that can do a lot of and not die.
I overheard her make a statement, an admissible statement, and she said, "Dominic, I'm going to crash this car."
Halloween, for 3 months after the accident, she would only wear his clothes. She would only eat the snacks he ate. She would only listen to the music he wrote, okay?
I'm not a baby. I'm so deeply sorry. I hope one day you can see I would never let this happen or do it on purpose. I wish I could remember what happened. I'm just so sorry. I'm heartbroken.
In today's episode, we will delve into the story of MacKenzie Sharilla, an apparently typical girl hailing from Strongsville, Ohio, one of the prominent suburbs of Cleveland. MacKenzie was born in 2004 to her parents, Natalie and John. Those who were familiar with her often perceived her as a privileged individual, the kind of young woman accustomed to getting her desires fulfilled. She had just one sibling, making it quite ordinary for MacKenzie's parents to indulge her, effectively granting her nearly anything she desired. This 17-year-old girl, who seemed to harbor aspirations of becoming a social media influencer and model, was unaccustomed to hearing the word no. As she matured, her behavior began to take a troubling turn. The once pampered young girl was transforming into a rebellious teenager, seemingly impervious to the potential consequences of her actions. Past friends and acquaintances of MacKenzie have commented on her growing selfishness, noting that she increasingly prioritized her own interests, even if it came at the expense of others. MacKenzie appeared to consistently evade consequences for her actions, which only fueled her belief in her invincibility. Upon entering high school, MacKenzie ventured into drug use and engaged in acts of breaking and entering into buildings, seemingly for the thrill of it. Her selfish and entitled behavior continued unabated. Despite her behavior and narcotics usage, there was one person who saw MacKenzie in a different light: Dominic Russo. Dominic, born on September 24, 2001, to Christine Agnello and Frank Russo, stood out as the youngest among 7 siblings. He was renowned for his ability to bring smiles to everyone around him. Most people would describe Dominic as the kind of person who perpetually wore a smile on his face. It came as no surprise that he managed to put a smile on MacKenzie's face as well, eventually leading to a serious relationship between them. From the moment MacKenzie laid eyes on Dominic, she knew she wanted to date him. He embodied the kind of person who was just her type, being 3 years her senior. Dominic was known for his infectious smile, and he counted almost everyone as his friend. Those who were acquainted with him believed that he harbored significant aspirations for the future and was determined to make something meaningful of his life. They had unwavering faith in his ability to achieve anything he set his mind to, largely due to his incredible personality. Interestingly, Dominic was the polar opposite of selfish, exemplifying the saying that opposites attract. Dominic fell deeply in love with MacKenzie and relished their time together, believing she brought joy and happiness into his life. However, this initial happiness would soon fade as their relationship took a toxic turn. At the outset of their relationship in 2021, MacKenzie portrayed herself as an innocent and sweet girl. However, it didn't take long for Dominic to realize that she had a jealous streak. Those who were personally acquainted with the couple knew that their relationship wasn't always harmonious, often marked by frequent disputes that could escalate even further, even playing out on social media. While their public image portrayed an amazing relationship in the beginning, things took a sharp turn for the worse in no time. MacKenzie became increasingly demanding and controlling, insisting that Dominic conform to her wishes. Their problems continued to escalate, with MacKenzie acting out whenever she didn't get her way. These public and private conflicts caught the attention of those around them, with some advising Dominic to leave the relationship. According to an anonymous witness, a former friend of MacKenzie's, she had made violent threats in the past during arguments with Dominic, including threats to crash her car while he was in the passenger seat. While those who knew them thought these were just expressions of anger, they could not have foreseen the tragic events that were about to unfold. What began as a romantic relationship between MacKenzie and Dominic would ultimately turn into a nightmare, resulting in the loss of Dominic's life. The tragic events that led to the loss of two innocent young lives began when Dominic decided to end his relationship with MacKenzie due to the constant issues between them. He believed it was necessary to take a break from their tumultuous relationship, but MacKenzie disagreed with this decision. Despite her objections, Dominic remained firm and ended things with her. MacKenzie's reaction to the breakup was anything but typical. She showed up at Dominic's house and threatened to vandalize his car if he didn't let her inside. Dominic recorded several of these confrontations between them, unaware that these recordings would later be crucial evidence in a courtroom. They demonstrated MacKenzie's obsession with Dominic and her determination to ensure that if she couldn't have him, no one else would. It's important to note that up until this point, MacKenzie had always gotten what she wanted, so the idea of not having Dominic in her life deeply upset her. Her frustration escalated to the point where she resorted to threats and violence, while simultaneously pleading with him to take her back. When MacKenzie saw that her threats and erratic behavior weren't convincing Dominic to reconcile, she changed her approach. She seemingly calmed down, stopped making threats, and tried to appear more composed, aiming to deceive Dominic into thinking she had changed. She wanted not only Dominic but also everyone else around them, including Dominic's family, to believe that she had turned over a new leaf. It was due to this apparent change in her behavior that Dominic eventually agreed to get back together with MacKenzie. The couple decided to make their renewed relationship public by attending a party with friends, including Davion and Flanagan. At this point, Dominic had no reason to anticipate that anything unusual would happen, as they had attended the party together and appeared to be heading home together in MacKenzie's car Toyota 20=018 Camry in the early morning hours of July 31, 2022. It is believed that at some point during their ride, MacKenzie began to exhibit problematic behavior once again, which likely reaffirmed to Dominic that she hadn't truly changed. Despite his care for her, he had grown weary of the constant ups and downs in their relationship and had possibly intended to end it once and for all, as it was no longer working out for him. However, MacKenzie was determined not to let that happen. At approximately 5:30 a.m., while driving with Dominic and Davion in the car, she deliberately accelerated her 2018 Toyota Camry down a 3/4-mile road. She continuously pressed on the gas pedal, causing the vehicle to reach a speed of 100 miles per hour before crashing into a wall. This reckless act has been described as a hell on wheels situation, resulting in the tragic deaths of Dominic and Davion at the scene. Remarkably, MacKenzie survived the accident but sustained numerous injuries. She was trapped in the vehicle for over 45 minutes before being rescued and subsequently hospitalized for her injuries. This devastating incident ultimately led to the loss of two young lives and left a trail of questions and grief in its wake. In the aftermath of the accident, there was a significant amount of confusion and turmoil. The parents of both Dominic and MacKenzie were attempting to communicate and make sense of what had transpired. They were likely in shock and uncertain about the circumstances leading up to the accident. When MacKenzie discovered that the accident had resulted in the tragic death of her boyfriend, Dominic, she reacted in a way that might be expected of any grieving girlfriend. She posted about how much she missed him on social media, sharing her grief with the world. However, as local authorities began their investigation into the cause of the accident, they uncovered crucial evidence that cast doubt on the nature of the incident. Surveillance footage revealed MacKenzie's vehicle traveling down the road at an extremely high rate of speed. This evidence suggested that the crash may not have been an accident at all, but rather a deliberate act. In addition to the surveillance footage, authorities gathered statements from friends and family who described the tumultuous relationship between MacKenzie and Dominic. Some of these individuals claimed that MacKenzie had threatened to take control of her vehicle and crash it to end her own life, possibly hinting at a darker motive behind the tragic events. The combination of the surveillance footage and statements from those who knew the couple raised suspicions about the true circumstances surrounding the accident, leading authorities to delve deeper into the case to determine what had truly happened that fateful night. The prosecution believed that MacKenzie intentionally drove her vehicle into a wall with Dominic and Davion as passengers, with the motive of ensuring that if she couldn't have Dominic, no one else could either. It appeared that her actions were driven by rage and frustration, and she may not have considered the long-term consequences that this reckless act could have on the lives of two innocent individuals. As the prosecution built their case against MacKenzie, they uncovered additional concerning details about her behavior. During her brief hospital stay following the accident, MacKenzie and her mother were reportedly seeking employment with a modeling agency in Los Angeles. However, after her release from the hospital, MacKenzie's actions did not align with the image of a grieving girlfriend. She attended concerts, Halloween parties, and posted videos of her reckless behavior on social media platforms like TikTok. According to MacKenzie's mother, she was encouraged to go out and have fun as a way to cope with the trauma of the accident. Still, it appeared that the trauma had little impact on her, as she engaged in behavior that appeared callous and insensitive. MacKenzie Sharilla faced a range of serious charges, including 4 counts of murder, 4 counts of felonious assault, aggravated vehicular homicide, drug possession, and possessing criminal tools. In addition to speeding and driving recklessly, which resulted in the deaths of 2 individuals, MacKenzie was found to be under the influence of THC at the time of the accident. During the trial, some doctors claimed that MacKenzie showed remorse for her actions and appeared ashamed of what had transpired. Her lawyer attempted to make excuses for her, including suggesting the possibility of her losing control due to a health emergency. However, the prosecution had evidence to support their claims of her recklessness. They pointed out that MacKenzie had reportedly asked the police if they could simply take away her license for 10 years or something similar, instead of serving time for her actions, further suggesting a lack of understanding or remorse for the gravity of her deeds.
Overheard her make a statement, an admissible statement, and she said, "Dominic, I'm going to crash this car." We find that it is especially and important to her state of mind just 2 weeks later when she used a car to kill Dominic Russo. After the crash, Strongsville police were notified that they had received concerning emails from the community that the defendant and her mother were seeking employment with the Los Angeles modeling agency. MacKenzie Sharilla said to Natalie, "Thank you for the comment. I would love to work with you guys. I've been emailing you guys a lot. Such a great opportunity. Thank you." Shortly after being released from the hospital, the police were provided additional videos of the defendant from her wheelchair as she attended a concert down in the Flats. And again, Your Honor, I'm introducing these to the court to show the shocking lack of remorse.
Halloween, for 3 months after the accident, she would only wear his clothes. She would only eat the snacks he ate. She would only listen to the music he wrote, okay? She was laying in bed for 3 months crying. So she was crying for 3 months. So her friends asked if she wanted to go out trick-or-treating or Halloween, and it was at OU. And she didn't even want to go. She said, "I don't know, should I go?" She couldn't even walk yet, barely. So I told her, I said, "Baby, please go."
I'm hearing an awful lot about your daughter. I'm not hearing very much about the two dead.
Dominic, okay, I'm asking you for a leniency because this was a tragic accident that she does not remember. Davion, he's a new friend. I'm so sorry.
Is that when his life is worthless?
No. They all loved each other. They all spent every day together. You know what I mean? I don't know too much for him.
Isn't that part of the problem, Mrs. Shirilla?
Sorry?
Isn't that part of the problem that they all trusted each other? Isn't that part of
It's not a problem at all. It was
the
wonderful.
problem? How they all ended up in the car together?
Families of Dom and Davion, I'm so deeply sorry. I hope one day you can see I would never let this happen or do it on purpose. I wish I could remember what happened. I'm just so sorry. I'm heartbroken.
And all of their lives have been irrevocably changed because of the actions of the defendant. The unintended and collateral consequences of a selfish, intentional, and cruel decision by MacKenzie will ripple forever in time.
After a 4-day non-jury trial, MacKenzie was sentenced on August 21 to 15 years to life in prison with the possibility of parole. This sentence reflects the seriousness of the charges and the tragic loss of life that resulted from her actions. Dominic's mother views this sentence as fitting for someone who took the life of her son and his best friend. She likely sees it as a form of justice for the pain and suffering MacKenzie's actions caused. On the other hand, Dominic's father takes a somewhat more compassionate view, expressing that he does not wish to see MacKenzie spend the rest of her life in prison. However, he recognizes the necessity for some form of punishment for her careless act, whether it was intentional or not. His perspective suggests a desire for a balance between accountability for her actions and the possibility of rehabilitation. These differing viewpoints within Dominic's family highlight the complex and emotional nature of cases like this, where a tragedy has profound and lasting effects on the lives of those involved, including the family members of both the victims and the defendant.
The video clearly shows the purpose and intent of the defendant. She chose a course of death and destruction that day. Exhibit 802 crystallizes the deadly decision-making of the defendant. She morphs from a responsible driver to literal hell on wheels as she makes her way down the street. The defendant controlled all the events. She chose the day. Specifically, she chose a day just before her 18th birthday. She chose to drive the car, the time to drive the car. She chose an obscure, previously scouted route through an industrial parkway. She chose the target to hit and the victims. No reasonable fact finder could view the totality of this evidence in this case and come to any other conclusion. Her actions were controlled, methodical, deliberate, intentional, and purposeful. This was not reckless driving. This was murder.
Court renders the following verdicts. Count 1. The court, having had count 1 tried to a pursuant waiver, finds the defendant, MacKenzie Sharilla, guilty of murder to make Dominic Russo.
The question of whether MacKenzie had a health emergency that caused her to lose control of the vehicle or if she deliberately accelerated to crash into a wall is a matter that was considered during the trial and ultimately addressed by the court. Based on the evidence presented during the trial, including surveillance footage and witness statements, the prosecution argued that MacKenzie's actions appeared reckless and intentional, suggesting that she deliberately caused the crash. The court ultimately found her guilty and sentenced her to 15 years to life in prison with the possibility of parole. MacKenzie's statement to the court expressing deep sorrow and claiming that she would never let such an event happen intentionally is a common sentiment expressed by individuals facing such serious consequences. It is difficult to determine her true intentions or state of mind during the incident. The court, in making its decision, considered all available evidence and testimony. In the end, the court's judgment reflects the legal determination that MacKenzie's actions resulted in the tragic loss of 2 lives, and she has been held accountable for those actions. The families and loved ones of Dominic and Davion will continue to grieve, and the legal process has determined the consequences for MacKenzie's role in this tragic event. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, press the bell button, like the video, and write your opinions in the description.